Welcome or welcome back. My name is Chastity, and I'm an intuitive life coach and Reiki master. I was introduced to this concept of emotional intelligence during my freshman year of my undergraduate work. I remember thinking that it was so important to understand it that I didn't even know why they wouldn't have included it as part of the high school curriculum. I felt it was just as important as learning about all the other core subjects. And here I am, 30 years later, feeling exactly the same way. And because I've learned about the world of energy and how feelings have a lot to do with how we choose to live our lives and how we're guided, I think it's even more important to understand this concept of emotional intelligence and understand how it plays into how we choose to behave and make decisions. So let's talk about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is your ability to understand and to manage your feelings. And the second element to emotional intelligence is, of course, your ability to be sensitive and compassionate towards others. In this video, I'm not going to talk about the second portion of that. I feel very strongly about the fact that when you're able to show empathy towards yourself, that becomes something that you can naturally do towards others. It's going to reflect in your relationship with other people. So I'm just going to focus on you and your part during this video. So let's take that very first part, understanding your emotions, and I'm going to walk you through an example. And you can use this example to help guide you if you choose to use this kind of process for yourself. So say that I ask you, how do you feel? And you respond with, I'm angry. Okay. I would start with a very childlike approach. What do I mean by that? I'll ask, why? You know, kids do that a lot, right? They ask why. So, why are you angry? And maybe you answer with, well, I was passed up for a promotion at work. Why are you angry that you were passed up for a promotion? And maybe you answer with, well, I deserve the promotion because I put in all these long hours at work. I came in early, I left late. That promotion should have been mine. Sounds fair so far, right? Then I would ask, why did you put in more hours? And maybe you respond with, well, I wanted to prove that I was worthy of the promotion. Wanted to prove that you were worthy of a promotion. You need to learn to recognize any type of conditions or limiting beliefs that is happening in your inner dialogue. If I'm in a coaching session and I hear you tell me, I wanted to prove that I was worthy of a promotion. When you're wanting to prove anything, there's a condition behind that. There's an if then attached. If you put in longer hours, then you are worthy of a promotion. If you're there in the office longer, then they think that you really want the job, that you deserve the job, that you're reliable enough to get the job. So you see where I'm going? There's a lot of if then attached to needing to prove something. So the real feeling or emotion wasn't necessarily the anger, it's the feeling of worthiness that's coming into question. So you have to learn to dig deeper in understanding your emotion and not just go with the very first one that you think is responsible for all of it, right? It's not anger. It's now really a feeling of worthiness. So once you really discover what's at the heart of that initial feeling that you were feeling, right? How do you manage that? How do you manage that emotion? Say that you realize that there's conditions there that you feel like you're not really meeting. Maybe that will also help you to realize that there are other areas in your life where you're also feeling conditioned, like you're not enough to be worthy of something. And the way that you manage this feeling and the decision that you make next is potentially seeking some professional support to help you with feelings of worthiness. Or let's change the scenario altogether. Say that you felt like you were worthy of that promotion and that you know you were deserving of it without question. Then the way you manage the emotion is you decide, well, what do you do next? Do you still show up to work and do extended amount of hours? Do you work less hours out of spite? Because that definitely is not going to help anything. You're just feeding into your ego there. Do you maybe look for a different job where you feel like the work that you're doing is being valued? That's the second part of emotional intelligence, is learning how to manage it. And learning how to manage it also includes your ability to know if, when, and how to express what it is that you're feeling. Please understand that emotional intelligence requires taking responsibility for the way you feel. It requires emotional responsibility. In other words, you and only you are responsible for the way you feel. No one else is. You are responsible for how you choose to respond to the things that are happening in your life. No one else is. It takes practice to develop emotional intelligence because you do have to start developing a level of self-awareness, and you have to be willing to dig deep on any emotion to really understand what is at the very foundation of that initial feeling that you may have described as something else. This is a really good exercise to try if you feel like you have been stuck feeling a certain way or about a specific situation and you're not quite sure how to move past it. It really helps you work through the process of understanding the emotion and then gives you more of an opportunity to look at the different ways that you can manage it better and more effectively. If you have any questions, let me know. Until next time, may love and light always guide you.